I would, the way it's documented for three, I would like my position documented, take an opposing position, document it, and move on. And I don't know why it changed, but I would just like that to be a historical document, that's our official historical document. I think that's really something to know. If we don't want to do that, I would just like my position for November 9th. Duly noted. I don't know if it really needs to be a change to the board operating procedure.
Well, I think we just put it on there, the board operating procedure, if we want to make that just a standard, the way that, we present all votes. I don't have, me personally, I don't have a problem with it. Mr. Resendez had some notes on the Robert's rules, if the roll call versus just the standard vote, but we're perfectly happy of doing it either way.
And I think that's like someone, you don't have to go through for a reason why they abstain. If someone opposes or abstains, it should be voted.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. Robert rules, it's a roll call vote, that's normally, okay, how do you, it's just a standard vote, 4-3 to pass or fail, that's what the minutes require. But it's up to y'all, if you want to go in that direction. I haven't seen historically how the minutes were in the past, but if y'all want to do that, it's a small district, small governing body, it's not really that much. So it's really up to you.
You just want to go back, put our names next to who voted what.
If it's a split vote, if it's unanimous, there's no need to.
Oh, agreed. No, it's whatever, if that makes you're good with that, and I'm good with that.
There's certainly no issue with us. Generally, districts want to do that if it's unanimous vote, it's just numerical 7-0, 5-0, 6-0, whatever. And then if it's not, it's 4 begins with the last names or the first name. So if that's your wishes, I don't know if it requires a change or not. We would just do it if that's the wishes of the board.
I had asked to say, could mine be noted, on was because
Or would you just make an amendment to the minutes?
Well, you would amend that particular board meeting, that's what I'll choose to do.
Well, we haven't approved it yet, so there's nothing to
Right,
change it.
But if you choose to, then in the future, to avoid confusion if the new superintendent secretary comes in the future, that hurts the board operating procedure. You don't have to, but like Gary said, if that's what you want to do, you don't have to formalize it. And I'm not sure what happened in the past, maybe it was a transition issue, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't.
It's just not a big issue. It's whatever the board wants to do.
We were definitely all in agreement. It's just a matter of, do you all want to memorialize it so it becomes a standard anytime that there's a vote less than 7-0 or whatever, however many are in attendance. I think that would be great. That way we have a standard going forward and it won't be, in question.
So you want a motion?
Yes, please.
To make a motion that votes that are not unanimous are duly noted with those for those against those that abstain.
I second it.
Any other discussion?
Just one question. Is it okay with the board to make it retroactive? I mean, there's one board meeting that you referenced.
Applying right back to the 9th of November.
Okay, and forward from the 9th of November.
Yes. All in favor? Motion passes 7-0. So then the next item is adding supplemental material to the agenda.
Page 3.
So sitting on the other side of the table here, it is difficult from the audience being able to see what's on the screen at times and not have access to the same information that we have whenever we're looking at making decisions up here. So I am proposing that we amend our board operating procedures to, instead of board packet, to be stated agenda packet, and have those items accessible to the community in the same amount of time that we have them accessible as well. That gives community members a chance to be able to come up and discuss items during public hearing if they're aware of what is going to be talked about during the meeting.
Just with the exception of any confidential or attorney-client privilege. That'd be okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we had discussion about that today. We were just coming up, we talked to James and some others. I think that's a fairly easy thing to do. Just the board, I know the board realizes, but I just echo Tony's comments. There's some agenda packets that would be available to community access that have confidential information that would be separate for the board. And as long as everybody understands that every month, like we looked at this month, I think everything tonight could have just been rolled over into a supplemental packet. But in upcoming months with personnel and other things, there's just some information that would be separated from the packet that the community would have access to when that's released initially.
If we approve this, does this mean if it's not included in the packet, it can't be seen in the meeting? Because I think
Well,
one of the challenges is that
there-
the information wasn't available.
Yeah, I would qualify one, that sometimes that there's an agenda item that's posted that we would want the board to look at or consider, but we might still be working on that on Wednesday or Thursday when the packet goes out, because I know from time to time you probably get additional information on items that day of the board meeting. So I think in that case, we would just try to communicate best we could to the board that supplemental information for this agenda item would not necessarily be available on Thursday, but it would be presented as soon as we got it. And we'd try real hard, I think, to make that a rare occasion, but I know that there's instances where that could happen, especially in budget time, stuff like that, when you're working on it for the last minute with presentations to the board. So that's a good question. I think the board would need to clarify that if that information was not available, would we have to pull that item or not? But I would hope not. But I think I'd hope that if we could work toward that we would be providing everything we possibly could on that Thursday release. Is that, Mr. Barnett, I don't know if I'm rambling, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, it answered the question. I guess I was sort of posing it to Tony as far as the verbiage that we want to paint ourselves in the corner, so we can't.
Yeah.
You could put the caveat in it to the extent of the information available. Ready and available. Does that make sense? Because Gary makes a great point, there are times where supplemental or, community members say, hey, wait a second, that wasn't in there, why isn't it now? And as long as it's just clear that, because that does happen. So, within the information that is ready to go, I think 9 times out of 10, probably 90% of the information as well.
I would think so.
Put a gauge on the things that they do. Is that very fine?
I move that we amend 2B in our board operating procedures from board packet to agenda packet. And on number 1, add with a caveat that as the information is available and that is available to the general public without personnel matters and other things that are other confidential items.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 7-0.
Tony, would you propose some language on that?
Yes, sir.
With that being taken care of, do we need to postpone the consent items until next meeting when the minutes of 11:9 are?
Yes, I would
Adjusting.
recommend you do full A and B so that way we can clarify those. But it's passed and then table those two, but then
Okay.
approve C.
We move forward with the consent agenda item C, the financials.
I'll move to approve the consent consent agenda item C, financials, as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 7-0. We'll move to the next item, the presentation of individual board trustees, members' continuing education hours reported by TASB for 2017. I believe everybody has received their continuing education requirements and have met all the requirements to date. I think we're fine on that. We don't do.
Have to announce to the time.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we'll start with Dr. Cribb at 27.5 hours. Ms. Gimbel had 32.75 hours. Mr. Daggy had 23 hours. Ms. Burkle had 30 hours. Mr. Barnett had 29 hours. Mr. Atkins had 17.25 hours. Mr. Hurley had 21 hours. Dr. Marino had 17 hours. The next item we're going to discuss and take possible action on the purchase of security cameras for the self-contained special education setting at the intermediate campus. The funding source would be from the fund balance.
Yes, ma'am. Trustees, as you're probably aware of, there's recent legislation, recent meaning a few years, that requires cameras in special education classrooms if students and parents meet certain requirements. One requirement would be that the students spend 50% or more of the time in that classroom setting. And second, that the parents request that camera be placed in the special education classroom. We have that situation that has arisen at the intermediate campus. I believe if I understand correctly, there was a similar situation at another campus that you may be aware of. This is what we call one of those unfunded mandates where the requirement is in place, but there's no funding sources and you can't use special education money on those cameras. And so we're asking you to consider, James and staff have run down some proposals, and you have that proposal for consideration in your packet. I'm not sure what page that is, but the purchase of the audio video recording equipment in the amount of $8,931.29. And so we're asking the board for permission to move forward with that project. And Ms. Oates and James is here, of course, to answer any questions you might have if that's not enough information. We're recommending that we move forward with that.
I do have one question. So we mentioned that it had happened at another campus before. What happens with the technology that's on that campus? Is it still being utilized, or?
We did have a similar request last year for the junior high school, and that equipment is still in place, although there was not another request for continuation of the recording this year, so it's been turned off, but it has not been removed. The original law required that we had a server in place that we could store that video and audio footage for 6 months. The new requirements are that we can use cloud storage for 3 months. So we left that in place at the junior high in case there was an additional request for years to come or even this year, so that it could be turned back on.
Can you move that equipment?
request for the intermediate school is actually for 2 classrooms rather than 1. And so we have a need for more equipment than what we have in place at the junior high currently.
Yeah, so like the said, we could move it, but we'd still be short one camera and an additional recording device.
And then if there was a request to turn it on at the junior high, again, you have to go back and replace it.
Well, I'll move to purchase the security cameras for the self-contained classroom at the intermediate campus.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Would there be any reason to look at economy of scale for doing more rooms than what we're being asked to do in anticipation of where it might go to save money in the long run? I mean, I don't know if that.
At the intermediate school, there's only one other classroom that meets the criteria for that. James can probably speak more as to whether or not there will be a price reduction for purchasing one more set of cameras.
In reviewing this quote from Night Security compared to last year's, it seemed to be the same per camera recording device. That there was no break between round 1 and 2. It was just multiply that 1 by 2, and that's what they gave us the price for.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees.
All right. And we're going to consider and take possible action on the proclamation designated the week of December 4th through 8th as Inclusive School Week.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Oates is going to introduce a presentation regarding Inclusive School Week.
Okay. So we are very privileged in this district and in this community as a whole to have a very welcoming and inclusive community. And I come from a district where that was a little more of a struggle than what we have here. So it's always a blessing when you have a team that's willing to work together for the benefit of all students, and a team where we truly see the students as our students, regardless of any label or disability or background that they may have. So I feel very blessed to work in this environment. We have a great team with us tonight. Let me see if I can get everyone here, because my goal is not to talk. I want them to share what they're doing, because it really is the boots on the ground that do this work. So we have Wendy Pruitt, who is assistant principal at the primary school. Roseanne Armendariz, our district coordinator. We have Ms. Angeline Michigamber from the intermediate school, campus coordinator. Angie Hargraves, campus coordinator at the junior high, who I see brought some friends to talk about what they're doing. And then Roxanne Wunderlich, who is the campus coordinator at the high school. So Mr. Garza, if you can roll up one slide. Inclusive Schools Week is designed to help us highlight and celebrate the progress that schools have made. If you think back to the time when you were in school, you may have known that that hallway was where those students went to class, and that's not the case anymore at all. This week allows us to really talk about what we're doing to make sure that students are not marginalized based on their disability, their gender, their ethnicity, their geography, where they're from, or even their language. And it also helps, helps us as educators and students and families talk about what we need to do to make sure that that continues to be a part of what we do every day. Inclusive Schools Week was started by a group, and the Inclusive Schools Network was started by the group at Stetson and Associates, who are tremendous supporters of the special education world. So I will now turn this over to Ms. Pruitt to talk about the primary school.
So thank you very much. I'm excited to share with you what the primary school is doing for Inclusive Schools Week. And by the way, this ties in really, really nicely to Rachel's challenge. So at our campus, we have several things happening right now. We do have a dress-up week, and let me tell you about our dress-up week. So we do dress-up week for multiple reasons. One of the reasons we do it is to spark conversations among our teachers and our students. But we also do it so that students can make connections between what is familiar with them and the lessons that we are trying to teach them. So this week, we're really excited to have dress-up week. And so our dress-up week today was, I left my cape in my car, I'm so sorry, but I was Batwoman today. And today was be a superhero to someone. So use the power of kindness with others. Tomorrow you'll see that kindness comes in all colors, and that's where each grade level will be encouraged to dress. They're going to dress in a specific color. And then those teachers or staff members that are not tied to a grade level will have tie-dye. So that we're all unique, but we all come together as well. On Wednesday, we have one team standing for kindness. Ms. Pruitt will be wearing a Spurs jersey. I'm not quite sure what everybody else will be wearing, but it'll be some sort of sports sports t-shirt or sports jerseys. On Thursday, we have Stand Up, Sit Tall, which is the theme of this year's Inclusive Schools Week, and that is where students are going to wear their tall socks, their tall, crazy, unique socks, and that'll be a lot of fun. And on Friday, we have Exercise Kindness Every Day. That's where we're going to wear warm-ups. Students are encouraged to wear their warm-ups or their exercise gear. So during morning announcements this week, Mrs. Way and I are going to be delivering messages about inclusivity and kindness. We're encouraging students to have conversations about kindness and to practice acts of kindness with each other. As part of our arts program, Mrs. Berg is creating snowflakes with each of our students, and they'll be displayed around the school for everyone to admire. She'll be tying in how each student is an individual and unique to go with that message. And Coach Roswell is incorporating inclusivity in the PE classes, and they are building snowmen with different PE equipment, going through teamwork and using their strengths to work towards a common goal and problem solving. We also have a friendly door decorating contest that's happening between classrooms, and those are focused on kindness. And there's one example of one of our first grade doors focused on kindness. The prize patrol will be delivering prizes to those winning doors on Friday. So we just have the privilege of building this foundation with our students, and we couldn't be more pleased. And so we work every day to teach our students to be kind to one another and kind to themselves. Thank you.
Ms. Michigan will talk to us about the intermediate.
Okay, so at the intermediate this year, we did something different. We set up, or our amazing SPED teachers set up 6 different stations around the school. And it's highlighting the various different disabilities or impairments. We're doing vision impairment, hearing impairment, physical impairment, intellectual disability, autism, communication impairment, and a learning disability. And I mean, y'all are all invited to come and get a sticker and go check out these things in our hallways because the kids are loving them. They're very interactive. Well, they're all interactive. Actually, go to the next slide. And so there's one. This is Guess the Disability. And on this one, we started just researching famous people that have disabilities. And oh my gosh, there was like, we could have come up with 200 different pictures. But we narrowed it down to, I don't know, 20 or something. And this, we did all the decorating in the hallway on Friday, and then Friday night, we actually had the Polar Express thing from the student council, and the parents and kids came up to school. So it worked out perfect, not even planning it. The parents actually got to see this, and they went through it and looked at each flap, and they were just amazed by all these famous people that have all these disabilities. And it's just raising so many questions too. It's great because just today, a teacher came to me and said, well, the kids are asking, Adam Levine has ADHD. What is ADHD? And I guess if a kid doesn't have ADHD and they've never heard that, they really don't know what it is. So we're going, and tomorrow on the wall, we're making like definitions, for what are all these things. Howie Mandel, OCD. They're like, what's OCD? Okay, but and then another great question that was asked by some students, or a teacher brought it to my attention today was, all these things in the hallway, they're saying disability or impairment. That sounds that's mean. Why are they saying that? Why are they calling all these things disabilities? So tomorrow on the wall is, we're going to take the word disability and we're going to, break it up and talk about it's not being able to do, like your learning disability, not being able to learn in the same way, or physical impairment, not being able to have the same physical attributes as other kids. So it's just sparking some great conversations already. It's only day 1, so I can't wait to see how the rest of the week goes. Get the next slide. And there's just some examples of the different interactive, like I said, that's the whole thing. It's interactive, everything. Like that one where you see all the different words, the color words. You have to, the little directions, there's task cards by each one. And that one, the task card says you have to read the color of the word, not the word. And that would represent, or could represent a possible learning disability, how it's just taking that extra time for those kids to sit there and think harder than, the typical child. Okay, next one. Just, more examples of our 6 different disabilities. Next one. This was great, just walking through the hallways, seeing the kids excited. All of these are actually working on the physical impairment one today. And it was actually, they were all in line to go to their specialist class. And they were like, can we go, can we go? So the teacher's like, yeah, just go ahead. So they started doing the things, and the little boy over here, one of the things was something like hold one foot up and see if you can go up the stairs. And I'm like, just don't get hurt. And then the little girl on top is trying to open different jars and bottles and stuff with only using one hand. I mean, it's great stuff. It's great experience, and so they're understanding, what it really is for the kids that really do have those disabilities. One more picture. And this was all the kids that were doing that, the guested disability one. Oh, and I love this story, the hearing impairment one. This is one of our little fellows that he's fixated. I can tell you, this is only day 1 of this, but he's already fixated on the sign language. So every time he goes by the sign language one, he stops and he has to start practicing and spelling out words. So there he is making his M, which really isn't an M, but it's for his first name. But it just shows he didn't even put down his fixation of the little creation that he was walking around the hallway with today. But go back a couple of slides. One other thing, one more, keep going, right there. It's not just, I know we're celebrating it this week, but it's really, throughout the year that we celebrate Disability Week on our campus or Inclusion Week on our campus, because our teachers are just so wonderful at, including all kids in every activity. Art, I don't ask them, I don't tell them, they just kind of know it falls around December, so they all try to do these really cute things just to really highlight it, but like I'm telling you, it's throughout the whole year they do stuff. This art project that Ms. Oliveras is doing, it's you are uniquely you, without you, something like the you're missing the best piece. And she had every kid in school decorate a puzzle piece. And they're being displayed different, all around the school in different ways. That we have a Christmas tree that has all the puzzle pieces. We have with some presents that have puzzle pieces. We have another picture of a tree that has pieces. I just highlighted that one in the middle because I loved it. I'm like, that's autism awareness right there. And no one told the kids what to do. Just do something that makes them unique. So, it's just awesome. In April, we're bringing therapy dogs in right before STAR for the kids that might have testing anxiety. In PE, Ms. Broll and Ms. Wiggy Hop, they do a student of the week every week. And they've already done 2 people of the week that have disabilities. And 1 is still to come. They've already done Colin Clark again this year. Colin Clark is a bodybuilder with Down syndrome. We Skyped with him last year actually, and everybody's become friends with him on Facebook, so now we talk and everything. So everybody keeps track of Colin Clark. Kyle Maynard, inspiration. He was born with a congenital amputation or amputee, which he was born with arms at the elbows and legs at the knees. And he was able to get his CrossFit license, and he is a CrossFit instructor. He is a wrestler, and he was the first amputee, four-limb amputee to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So, just inspirations, beyond inspiration. And it's just, no one tells PE to go out and find, these people of the week. It just happens, and it's just, that's what the school is. That is our school, so. Okay.
Mark Graves, and I promise she will not, this
going here? Impression.
All right, well, at the junior high, we really just wanted to take this week to